Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video. I wasn't born with money. In fact, my family was struggling to just have the basic necessities when I was a kid. My mom had tried to start a few businesses in the past, but all of them failed, and my mom's job was the only thing that was supporting us for a while. At least until my mom developed a mod for a game and was able to sell it for a pretty good price. After that, my dad used some of the money to give his business of import and export one more try and was able to find success in the food industry. So I can easily say that by the time I was able to understand what money was, my family was rich enough to buy me whatever I pointed at. This also meant that I was eventually going to get a large inheritance someday. I know these things because my mom made sure to teach me the importance of not taking things for granted and to always keep my head on earth. Now I have been married for 7 years and have a really happy life. My husband understands me and supports me whenever I need it. In fact, he had shown me by his actions on many occasions that I am his priority over everything and everyone else, and that includes his own family. I haven't always been on good terms with my in laws, as they are the kind of people who don't like how my husband takes sides whenever there's an argument. Now, I would understand if their points were valid, but I can't blame my husband for always sticking to my side if the reasons for their futile arguments were things like me going out with my girl group and leaving my kids with a babysitter so I could get a break from my exhausting life. Or me not bringing the kids over to their grandparents often enough because apparently that's my plot to not let my in laws be close to my kids. Honestly, all these fights were very tiresome, and I'm glad my husband speaks up for me. But recently, something happened that made me question my entire relationship. My dad passed away not too long ago, and I got my inheritance. It was a really hard time for me because of dad's death. He was always there for me in my good and bad times. He was the one who took me out for ice creams after school. I love mom too, but I was closer to dad as he spent more time being with me because mom had to work. In my grief over his passing, I couldn't bring myself to tell anyone about the legal matters that followed. My mom took care of the major things in the legal transfer of my inheritance, while I was barely able to breathe whenever dad was mentioned. So my husband didn't know about it. A couple of weeks ago, my husband and I were having dinner at my in law's place. It was the weekend, and my mother in law wanted to spend some time with kids. Over the dinner table, the conversation flew towards how my father in law's was turning into a shabby cottage day by day, and my husband asked him, when is he planning to sell the place and get a new one that's more comfortable and spacious enough to accommodate for growing toddlers? He offered to help him out financially if he was short on money and said that he's sure I wouldn't mind helping them out either. I told him, of course, I would help and it wouldn't be a problem to pay 20% of the cost as I got my inheritance not so long ago. At this, my husband was very surprised because I had totally forgotten to tell him about it. But before he could say anything, my father in law said, "That's great news." He said if I had acquired my family money, then it would be a breeze for me to pay for the whole house. He told me, as his daughter in law, I should definitely pay for his house because we're family. But his tone was very condescending, and that didn't sit right with me. But I controlled myself so that dinner wouldn't turn into another episode of futile fights. I grunted and went back to focusing on my food, and the conversation was eventually steered onto the next topic. After a few days, my father in law called me and told me that he had found a house. He said he had gone through a few houses, and the one he really liked was a 3,000-acre built home with 5 bedrooms. Fully furnished kitchen with granite countertops, 3 fireplaces, and a furnished dining room, a backyard with a fitted grill station, and a swimming pool. It costs about $500,000, and I should buy that one. He said with my inheritance, it should be easy for me, and the kids would love to come over on the weekends just to enjoy the pool and the barbecue. But I told him even if I had that much money, I need to save up for my kids. I can't just blow everything up. But he just replied with a few snarky comments and practically forced me to pay for it. When I told my husband about what happened, I thought he'd take my side because it was so obvious that our kids' college fund is much more important than any house. And $500,000 was a ridiculous amount, even if we live in a rural part of Pennsylvania. But my husband did something completely unexpected. He said that his dad didn't make an outrageous demand, and since I'm so rich, I really should buy them a house. He asked me, why am I making excuses about our kids' future? He accused me of planning to hide the money forever and of not caring enough to share or use it to pay our debts. I told him that's not the case, and I couldn't tell him before because I was not in the right state of mind to talk about what I got as the reward of my dad's death. But he just continued with his ridiculous accusations. He even said that he had always sided with me and had fought for me with his parents, and paying for the house is the least I could do to return that favor. Hearing those words come out of his mouth shattered something in me. I couldn't believe that he was just called all the actions I thought were the sign of his love, something he did out of favor. It's like my whole reality changed. We fought a lot that night. I was more upset about the fact that he thinks I'm putting the money above my own family than him asking me to buy the house for his dad. Our fight continued for a week, and no matter how hard I tried, he just wouldn't listen to me. It was like he was determined to hold on to the misunderstanding and was refusing to let my reasons and explanations enter his mind. This was the first time I saw this immature side of him. I also flat out refused to contribute anything for that house and told him that I wouldn't touch my inheritance until it was time for my kid to go to college. And if our son decides to not go to college and do something else, I'll just give him the money. AITA here for not giving up on it? Am I fighting an unreasonable battle again? It's been 2 months since I was able to check Reddit or update you guys. Last time I posted about how my father in law forced me to practically spend all my inheritance to buy a house for him, and how when I told my husband about it, he took his side and got angry at me for not telling him about my inheritance before. Since then, our fights didn't completely end, and I have been a complete mess because I've started to notice the small things that my husband did and which annoyed me. His actions, which I always thought were out of love, now seem like motions he's going through, and because it's his job to do that as a husband. Because of him not trusting or even trying to give me the benefit of the doubt for not letting him know about my inheritance, his behavior changed entirely. And it was so bizarre to see the man I loved behave in a petty manner that I had no choice but to face the fact that our relationship isn't what it used to be, and I needed to be smart and prepare for the worst. So I took out my share of the money from our joint bank account and deposited it into a separate account named after my son that I'll be managing. When my husband found out, he was really pissed, and we again had a row, but I wasn't going to change my mind about anything. I am beginning to realize that a man who can't watch me grow cannot grow with me, and things are going to be bad for a while. But even now, my emotions are so conflicted regarding everything. I still love my husband, and I don't want our marriage to end. I will try to work things out with him for my son and me. Last time I was here, I shared how things in my marriage haven't been going great and how, because of an inconsequential demand from my father in law, my relationship turned into a circus for everyone to see. We were already having troubles at home and constantly fighting over small things. Even trivial matters like dishes or picking up dry cleaning turned out to be the source of a full on shouting match that goes on for days. Even though my husband and I talked about how we want our marriage, it just didn't seem like we'll be able to let go of the hurt we've caused each other. So we ended up looking into couples counseling and went there for weekly sessions. But in the end, even that just made things worse. Talking about what we didn't like about each other and openly pointing out the flaws just hurt us more. And we ended up having a row at my son's parents' teacher meeting. That day, we came home utterly humiliated and realized how we've probably given our son lifelong issues because of our nature. That fact, combined with the pain of hurting our son unintentionally, made us face the reality, and we finally got mutually separated. With everything that was happening, it's not like I didn't see it coming, but still, it was a punch in the gut. I didn't think that I could hate and love someone at the same time, and how much our divorce would break me. Going to court for trials is a challenge in itself, and even now, I miss the relationship I had. I never imagined that something as insignificant as buying a house would end up unraveling my marriage, but I still don't regret it. I still believe that I wasn't in the wrong when it came to using my inheritance. It was money my parents passed down to me so that I could live a happy life without any worries. And I don't think buying my father in law a house was beneficial to me in any way. And my husband had no right to get mad at me for that because we are both financially independent people. And at the end of the day, I'm not responsible for his parents. My responsibility is to my own family, especially my kid, and I don't need a man who doesn't understand that simple fact. NTA, I don't think you're the asshole here. You shouldn't pay for a grown man's house, no matter what the reason was. It was your money, and only you get to decide how you want to use it. NTA, wow, the father in law was really something. Not only did he hate you from the start, he completely changed his direction once he learned that you had money. And the husband that's not even capable of understanding that you couldn't tell him about it because of your grief is not worth your time. I say, just take the kid and walk out. It'll be good riddance. I'm a married mother of two kids who are 6 and 10 years old. Before my wife got pregnant, she told me that she wanted to stay home with any kids we had when they were young. We ran the math, and it could work, so she is a stay at home parent. Here, kids start school in September of the calendar year they turn 6 years old, which for my oldest is this year. My wife is returning to work later next month. My wife is an accountant. Since tax season is the slow time at my job, I take lots of time off, and my wife works at her old firm for a couple of months every year. She also kept up with professional development, industry news, and networking while she was off work. We made sure to budget so we could have some money in savings and that I had a good life insurance policy since I'm the one working full time. Basically, we budgeted and planned and had a safety net. My sister is also a stay at home parent. However, her and her husband spend more than he made every month and maxed out their credit cards on expensive clothes and vacations. My sister has no degree or educational savings. She has only had one minimum job, and she quit when she was pregnant by telling her manager to shove it up her ass. These are things my sister has told me herself. Her husband had a job, but now he's been arrested and will likely be going to prison for the next 5 to 10 years. Just an estimate on the amount of time. My sister is in a bad spot, even with family helping her where we can. She blames my wife for putting the idea in her, my sister's head, that she too can stay home. My wife never advised her. I understand that she really is stressed out, so the first time I did not say anything because even my wife told me to leave it alone. The next time, she started badgering my wife and blaming her. I told my sister to back off and stop blaming my wife for her own problems. This is after my wife offered to watch her kids while she met with the staff at the benefits office or went to job interviews. At that point, My sister cried, and now she's shouting from the rooftops about how awful me and my wife were to her. I'm irate and wish I had said something the first time. It's not our fault my sister didn't plan better. I would hope to never go to prison, but we planned and sacrificed for my wife to be able to stay home. My sister is angry at us, but I'm irate with her for putting this blame on my wife who didn't do anything. NTA, your sister needs to have some accountability for her own crap. This definitely is not on you or your wife. Me taking someone's advice doesn't make my decision their fault. NTA, your sister is blaming someone other than herself because she can't possibly be responsible for her poor planning. Oh, yes, she can. You do you and she do she. Don't become financially responsible for her, or you will never get her to stand on her own 2 feet. I never thought I would have to post this here, but given the response from the rest of the family, I'm not sure. I swear I'm not dense, but the backlash I got was unexpected. One of my nephews was born with a rare disease. He has almost no mobility and cannot speak or eat on his own. The disease has no cure, though there are treatments to help the symptoms. For privacy, I won't go into more details. So far, all of his treatment and medicines has been covered by the healthcare system. My sister and brother-in-law haven't had to pay anything themselves. There is an experimental treatment recently developed in another country. However, as it is new and experimental, it isn't covered by the healthcare system. The treatment is costly. They are unsure if it would work, and even if it does, he would likely need it again in the future. I do not have children, but I understand that my sister and brother in law would do anything they could. They have been fundraising to pay the costs. I have given them all I can spare. I get funds for a trip I was supposed to take soon and gave that as well. I love my nephew to the ends of the earth. I gave them a 5-figure sum to go towards their costs. I'm told it isn't enough. I've been asked to both refinance my home and sell my boat. Other family members are going to what I consider extreme lengths. If it's their choice, that's fine, but I cannot possibly do what they are asking. It is far into 6 figures that my nephew needs. My home's total price was only in the 5-figure range. They have already appealed the healthcare system decision and lost. None of my family has much, but we are all giving what we can. I resent being asked to go to these lengths, though. One of my brothers and his wife have sold their house and moved into a smaller rental. My dad gave up on retiring. My cousin gave them all the money she had set aside for school. I gave everything I could, but I'm getting calls and even visits telling me it's not enough. I thought I was making the right decision saying I can't give anything else, but given that my entire family is against me, I am rethinking it. My sister called my parents in tears when I said no to refinancing my house, leading to a terse call from my brother in law. AITA for not wanting to give more? NTA, this is insane. Do not sell anything or refinance your house. You cannot destroy your security and end up in poverty. This is an experimental treatment. It is very risky. It's probably also so expensive that there won't be enough money even if everyone does sell everything. The family needs to be running a GoFundMe or other fundraiser. Do not sell anything and do not cave. You may have to end phone conversations with them. They're desperate and will try anything, even if that means destroying the lives of everyone in the family. You are doing what you can and what you are comfortable with. You are not obligated to cripple your finances to pay for a non immediate family member's medical care. It's awful that your nephew has such a terrible disease, but the actions of the family members giving up retirement, education funds, and homes is extreme and not healthy, in my opinion, particularly because the treatment is experimental. My curiosity as a physician is eating me alive right now, though, concerning this new treatment and his disease. I understand you are from Canada. I'm not, but familiar with the healthcare system, and that the notion is to travel to a different country for said new treatment. Trials and approvals can be incredibly varied by country, and that would be important to me if I was involved. Not all healthcare is created equal, and depending on the phase the treatment is in, I may question the seemingly high cost as well. The sad fact remaining, no matter the details, is that going from a no mobility, non-verbal state to a sole functioning ability is like winning the lottery, and such a high cost for anything less doesn't add up to me. It might be time for the parents to attend some counseling to figure out and accept what is really best for the child. Might be time for the parents to attend some counseling to figure out and accept what is really best for the child.